like chickeny hands. So I grabbed some rubber gloves too. Cheers to getting our meal prep underway. All right, I'm gonna top this off. So the meatballs are a fantastic way to get protein in. Pretty simple ingredients. The most processed thing that we have is the wild wings, but because we're using this Buffalo Wild Wing sauce, we're not gonna have to use any salt, pepper, garlic powder, no other seasonings. I could probably figure out how to make this from scratch. Let me know if you want me to do that. I eyeball a lot of things in the kitchen. How many of you are afraid to cook or don't like to cook for a party of one? For years, I did a lot of takeout. I did a lot of highly processed foods because I thought it was easier. Now, I'm 50. About a year ago, I decided I was gonna start falling in love with my life. I am worth making delicious meals. I'm worth focusing on my health, my wealth. Just because I'm a solo, it doesn't mean those other things are no-goes, right? It's really important to start taking care of yourself. You're worth it. And this is a pretty economical meal that's gonna be at least 3 meals for you. So the chicken was $4.99 a pack, so that's about $10. I'm gonna use a little bit of the panko, probably 75 cents worth. This was $4.49 on sale at Safeway. The mushrooms were $2.69 at Trader Joe's. We're gonna use about a tablespoon of the parsley. That'll be about 54 cents. We're gonna use 2 tablespoons of capers because I love things that make me pucker. It's delicious. I think they're $1.99 a jar at Trader Joe's. So that's about 50 to 60 cents. And then we're gonna throw in some Parmesan cheese. This little tub was $5.79. We're gonna use 1/4 of a cup. So that's probably like 90 cents. So all in, you're gonna have meals that cost you about $4 to $5. We know exactly what's going into the bowl, into the ball, and into your mouth. So yeah, let's get started. All right, let's rock and roll with this. About 1/4 of a cup of panko. I like it. It holds up better, I think, than regular breadcrumbs. We're gonna put in an equal amount of Parmesan cheese. That was probably a little more than 1/4 of a cup, but we're good with that. I'm gonna put in about a tablespoon of the dried parsley. Who doesn't like a little green? Yeah, that seems good. I'm not going to dump the capers in my hand, so give me a minute while I grab a tablespoon. My whole goal is to become this coastal aunt with like a great vibe where I'm cooking and looking out over the ocean. That doesn't fit. In a kitchen that accommodates a whole bunch of friends and family who just want to like chill, eat good food. As my niece says, I'm a good cooker. I keep it simple but delicious because that's really important. If it's not easy, we're not going to do it. It's good to do hard things. Let's be real. We often avoid doing hard things. So with the mushrooms, I'm going to take them over to the sink and I'm going to wash them. I'll be right back. All right, quick wash the mushrooms. We're back. They're just white sliced mushrooms. I'm keeping it simple today, and I didn't want to spend time chopping when I got back from working out. I'm just gonna rough chop these. Literally grabbing my knife, just running it through a couple of times to make the pieces pretty small. Mushrooms are a great way to add fiber, extra protein, and when you mix it in with a meat product like chicken, beef, or pork, especially when you're making meatballs, you don't really notice it. If you have a fine enough mince. I love, it's a great way to extend the meat to add some additional fiber. So yeah, throw in some mushrooms. It's good for you. And there's a lot of new scientific research that talks about how great shrooms are. I mean, those might be a different kind of shroom, but we'll start with the edible ones. We'll start with meatball mushrooms first. All right, literally rough chopping. It is not beautiful. I'm gonna grab my phone, pull it closer up so you can see what I'm doing, and how quick and easy this is, and then we'll be back. We have the breadcrumbs, the parsley, the capers, and the Parmesan. I have a quick and dirty chop of the mushrooms, and cheers to being halfway done. You know, I don't think I would trust somebody who didn't eat a meatball. So here's the meatball mixture. It's 8 ounces of mushrooms that I've rough chopped, 2 tablespoons of capers, Parmesan cheese, breadcrumbs, a little bit of parsley, and about a tablespoon of the Buffalo Wild Wing sauce. I'm gonna turn it into meatballs. I'm gonna brown them really quickly in my pan, and then they go into the crock pot. All right, the mixture is done. 2 pounds of ground chicken, 8 ounces of white mushrooms, about 2 to 3 tablespoons of capers, 2 tablespoons of parsley, about 1/4 of a cup of Parmesan cheese, and 1/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs. And then I mashed it all together, but don't overmix. Nobody wants tough meatballs. You know what? I don't know if I would trust somebody who wouldn't eat a meatball. They're delicious. Glove up. Let's start making those meatballs and getting them in the pan. Before I grab that, I'm gonna throw just a tiny bit of olive oil in here. I'm just grabbing what I have on hand. I'm not a professional, amateur hour. As my 4-year-old niece says, I'm a good cooker. So we're focusing on it tasting delicious, not necessarily looking delicious. Meal prep and meatballs have saved me throughout my weight loss journey. They're easy to grab. I've been trying to convince my 70+ mom to start making some meatballs. Highly recommend it. You can see they're not beautiful. It's all about fuel and macros and not a beauty competition. They're not perfect. Just eyeball it. The one thing I might do is push in a meatball or a mushroom or two. This is just a quick, I'm not gonna cook them all the way through. This is just to get them brown. And then I'm gonna throw them in the crock pot for about 4 hours. It might not even take that long. Whole bowl's under $20. I'll probably get 3 to 4 meals out of it, which means, you know, $5 for delicious, high protein packed meals. You don't have to spend a fortune to have delicious food that can fuel you and help you meet your goals. I try not to crowd the pan either. You know, if it takes a couple of times, a couple of turns to get this done, that's what it takes. One of my favorite lessons from trial and error with cooking has been to leave them alone until they release from the pan. I'm also trying to get away from non-stick pans and using cast iron more. And so on my wish list is an all-clad stainless steel pan. Have it picked out. I'm just going to wait probably for another month or 2 to grab it. And then you'll learn how to cook in stainless steel with me. I'm sure that'll be a journey. All right, let me grab the phone and show you how these are looking. Here are the meatballs, they're browning. We're not cooking them all the way through. We just want to get a nice crust on them before I put them in the crock pot. If you could smell my kitchen right now, it smells so amazing. All right, so while the meatballs brown, I'm gonna turn my crock pot onto low and slow. I'm not in any rush to eat. Nothing's in my crock pot. I don't have a liner in it. I'm trying to avoid plastic, which maybe I should try to make my own version of the Parmesan sauce from Buffalo Wild Wings. But here it is, the macros. There's 12 servings in here. It's 2 tablespoons, 130 calories, 12 grams of fat, 3 carbs, no fiber, and 1 gram of protein. I'm just gonna put this in the base. I'll take a little bit of chicken broth and clean out the jar when it's done. And I'll put that on top of the meatballs. All right, you don't need to see me empty out the container. Okay, these are browning up really quickly. So I'm gonna flip them and then I'm gonna start putting them into the crock pot as soon as this other side is crisped up. You're just looking for a brown crust on top. That's it. These are good for me to start putting into the crock pot. I'm just gonna grab one and we're gonna come over here and I'm just gonna place it on the sauce. Easy peasy. Now I'm gonna do this 24 more times. We are good to go with our meatballs, right? They're all browned. There's a nice crust on them. I put in a little bit of bone broth in the Parmesan garlic, swished it around. I'm just gonna put the last little bits of this on top of the meatballs. Then I'm gonna lock the lid in place for about 4 hours and check them. Sometimes they go 6 on low, low and slow. That's the way I like it. Celebrate your wins today. Be creative, move, get your macros in, take care of yourself. You're worth it. The meatballs are done. I'm taking them out of the crock pot and putting them into meal prep containers to let them cool. It smells amazing in my apartment.